Starting the bulletin with the top story from Russia, where the police have detained Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny. Minutes after he returned from Germany, Navalny was detained by the Russian police at the Moscow airport shortly after he landed on a flight from Berlin. Navalny returned home for the first time since his poisoning last summer. Before he had formally entered Russia, 4 masked police officers asked Navalny to accompany him at a passport control and without giving any explanation. And Russia's prison service had earlier said that he faces immediate arrest once he returns. Yet he vowed to return to Russia in defiance of warnings that he faced imminent arrest. Navalny spokeswoman Kira Yarmish confirmed that he had been detained, saying on Twitter that Alexei was taken away by the police officers at the border with no explanation given before his detention. Navalny spoke about the threat, saying air safety of a huge, beautiful city is under threat for someone Putin said nobody needs.
В первую очередь, конечно, хотел бы извиниться перед пассажирами этого рейса и перед теми людьми, я так понимаю, сотни людей пострадали от того, что был закрыт аэропорт Внуково. Тысячи людей, видимо, застряли из-за того, что просто перекрыли автодорогу во Внуково. Здесь ограничили движение. Ну, это просто еще раз показывает то, что происходит в России, и показывает абсолютную правильность. Я не могу сказать, что это мой выбор. Не то, что я выбирал, возвращаться или не возвращаться. Такой вопрос не стоял вообще ни одну секунду. Но это показывает о том, как нужно здесь бороться. Потому что, Господи, Боже мой, это же не просто власть каких-то отвратительных воров, но и совершенно ничтожных людей, которые занимаются какой-то ерундой. Они действительно поставили авиационную безопасность огромного прекрасного города под угрозу. Просто зачем? Для того, чтобы, как там Путин сказал, да кому он нужен?
Police in Moscow also arrested a number of supporters of Alexei Navalny as they awaited his arrival at the city's airport. There was a heavy police presence as crowds gathered outside the airport ahead of Navalny touching down in the city. And his wife, Yulia Navalny, has called on supporters, asking them to not be afraid.
Они настолько боятся Алексея, что закрыли и парализовали практически все полеты сегодня вечером в Москве. Подвели столько людей просто из-за человека, который прилетел на свою родину обратно. И самое главное, что Алексей сегодня сказал, что он не боится. Я тоже не боюсь, и вас всех призываю не бояться. Спасибо вам большое за поддержку.
Navalny recovered in Germany after he was poisoned last summer by what German military tests showed was a Novichok nerve agent. And we are now being joined by Fred. We are a Russian affairs expert from Moscow. Thank you so much for joining us. How do you assess the situation? The prison service had said earlier that Navalny does face arrest. How do you see this panning out now?
Well, the only question now is whether they will enforce the sentence. There's a previously existing sentence which was suspended. So if they enforce it, he can be sent to a labor camp and basically disappear for a few years. Or whether they'll release him and let him go back to his activities or perhaps be under house arrest. This is the only outstanding question right now. The thing that is remarkable here, and it just always surprises me, is how frightened the Russian government appears to be of this man, because he doesn't command mass popularity. He is a thorn in their side. His criticisms are poignant, but there's no threat that he poses to Putin or the regime in power in Russia today, and yet they act as though they're terrified of him. And it was all on display there. And because this is no longer the Soviet Union, I think that probably needs to be underscored, that this event would never happen in the Soviet Union. People left and never came back, and for good reasons. His supporters show no fear. It was all covered. Every Russian who wanted to see events unfolding live could see it on Dozhd TV or other independent media. This is a different country from the Soviet Union, and yet it has got this extreme, strange thing in its bosom. I can't explain the Navalny story in terms of Russia unfolding as a normal country. And it remains just a fascinating anomaly in Russia today.
That's a very interesting point, Mr. Weir. Also, another point here would be there is unrest, and many have even asked for his immediate release. What can we expect on that front?
Oh, nothing at all. If anybody thinks that Western pressure statements are going to make the slightest bit of difference, you haven't been paying attention these last several years. And in fact, the Russian foreign minister has given a statement saying they're all blowing this up out of proportion in order to distract from their own problems. And he's got his point to make. I mean, in the West, especially in the United States, they've got problems. Okay. No, I don't. It's just one of many things that are aggravating relations between Russia and the West. And nothing is going to get better anytime soon.
All right. Now that you have clarified that, how do you see this panning out? What's the next course of action? What do you think?
I don't know. It depends whether they release him or not. But Navalny has made it very clear that he's not going away. He played this, with a great deal of personal courage and flair. He played it in a way that it really showed the Kremlin's weaknesses and inability to deal with him or the situation that's been created, which I think it's clear that the Russian secret police created themselves, and so I think this will go on. Let's hope it doesn't have any really bad outcomes.
All right, Mr. Fred Weir, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all those details with us. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.